What's good, everybody? My name is Machiavelli, and we got some news again by our best friend, Lobry Gentlegram, and this time it involves one of the biggest, if not the biggest, hip-hop commentator slash media there is right now on YouTube, and that is Joe Budden, and he's been running the game for a few years now, man. He's also been pretty vocal about Drake. I would say they used to be buddies before. I remember like in 2020 they used to like do laughs and shit. They were supposed to do an interview together. I remember there was this clips of Drake talking to Budden a few years ago. But since 2023 these guys have had a little of a rough patch, you know what I'm saying? But 2023, I think it was before that, but 2023 really was the boiling point for Aubrey, and it stemmed from when he released For All the Dogs, the album back in 2023, the one that had the first person shooter song with J. Cole. Joe Budden reviewed it. He basically was saying that he was bored of Drake rapping like this. He said he was rapping too much for children. He was like yachty rapping, and he basically told him, I'm bored of you. You know, you are 40 years old and you're talking about hanging out with 25-year-old girls. You know what I'm saying? Like, he shouldn't be able to he shouldn't do that. You know, it's not the type of music a person of 40 years old should do. You know what I'm saying? But basically Joe Budden that gave his opinions on it, and Drake took the criticism at heart and released a post that I'm gonna put it right now on the screen. I'm not gonna read it all, but it's basically this guy, you know, being a snowflake and, you know, saying that Joe Budden is a crybaby, that Joe Budden is a frustrated person, that everything that Drake is, Joe Budden wished he could be. And always the thing that I want to point out, which is what we're seeing right now, is towards of the comment. Basically Drake is saying that he wants to cut everybody's entitlement to their opinion. You know, he says, I don't want the young people, I don't want people to believe that they're entitled to their opinion. And that's like absolutely, you know, backwards regarding what genre you're in. You're in hip-hop. You were supposed to give your opinion. You're supposed to give your view on things. That's the nature of the genre. That's the nature of why people like it so much, because you're you and you're saying what you think. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not, you know, it's not like pop that you could put your outfit on and 10 costumes and sing and have backup dancers. No, bro. This genre relies 100% on what you're saying and the way you say it. That's it. You could be with dusty clothes, you know, worker boots, you know what I'm saying, like a do-rag, a wipe it, and that's it. That's everything you need to be a superstar. You know what I'm saying? But you need to know how you're saying things. You need to have, you know, your own image, your own character, your own personality. And you basically want to cut that for everybody because you don't have it. You know what I'm saying? And again, that's a thing, or that's a mindset that he's apparently still has today. You know what I'm saying? Because he's not going to any hip-hop media. You know, and tying it back to the Joe Budden thing, basically Drake went after this guy named Rob Markman. Rob Markman is a legend in the hip-hop game and the hip-hop commentary space in YouTube. He's been doing it for over 20 years. You know, he was in independent media. Social media came over. He hopped in. He started having his takes on, you know, songs, doing bar breakdowns. So he always came from a place of honesty. You know, he wasn't like biased. He wasn't, you know, trying to side with one side and trash another one. He's always remained very neutral, you know, and he always made it about the music. But as I explained in my other video, there was this incident, or there was this interview that resurfaced. This was about Rob Markman and Tory Lanez. They were doing an interview, and Tory Lanez was rapping a bar about Lil Wayne, and then he passed it on to Rob Markman, and then Rob Markman didn't know the bar. And then I think the clip was reposted. I don't know, but basically Drake saw it and he commented under the post saying, of course, the goofball Rob Markman or something like that, he didn't know the bar. And then Rob Markman responds, yeah, I didn't know the bar. I will also call you names, but I know you're gonna sue. And he shut him down with that. Everybody went crazy. Everyone was like, he's standing on business. That's a great response to Drake. You know, he's not afraid to stand ground on things. And, you know, I thought it was hilarious, to be honest. But, yeah, after that, Joe Budden took on the story and he was mentioning it. You know, he was analyzing it with the podcast. and he said that he was banned from the Joe Budden podcast, which Drake never was in there to begin with. So I don't know where you're banning him from if he never was in there. You know, to say he never went, he never visited. You said you were going to have him back in 2020, and that never happened. 2023, you know, you had your little feud with him. It never happened. And then, you know, now you're trying to ban him. You know what I'm saying? And if you ban him, bro, he's not going to come back. That's my other point. Hip hop media, Drake is never going to go to hip hop media again. You know what I'm saying? Not to Joe Budden, but, you know, not to anybody. Not to Rob Markman, not to Hot 97, not to Angie Martinez, not to Drink Champs, not to any of these established podcasts. No, none of these. You know what I'm saying? Not the Joe Buddens. He's well off being with the streamers, and there's a reason why. Because a lot of the hip hop spaces is a lot of criticism, it's a lot of opinions, it's a lot of asking the questions that nobody wants to get questioned. You know what I'm saying? That nobody wants to answer. And Drake right now, we have so many unanswered questions that he goes to a hip-hop media, a hip-hop commentator, and he gets asked these questions about the lawsuit, about what he thought about the beef, about what he thought about Not Like Us, and all these different topics. Of course, he's going to get attacked. You know what I'm saying? So he needs an interview in a controlled environment. That's a stream. That's Bobby out of, you know, in the fucking bedroom. Like, bro, these people have no talent. They are not hip hop. Let alone they're not music. You know. So why would you go with them? Why would you give them the attention? Because, you know, they're not gonna ask those questions. You can control the narrative of those things. You could be, you know, entertaining. You're gonna have, but they're not gonna, you know, show you to the hip hop audience. They're gonna show you to the general audience, to the casual listener, and that's the type of person Drake wants. So on one hand, I think, you know, you're not gonna go to hip hop, but you don't need hip hop, you know, because you've been officially segregated of the culture. You know what I'm saying? So now he wants to. The best move he could do is go to the casual listener, you know. And the casual listener is not going to get converted to a rap fan. You know, even the casual listener, like, understands that Kendrick might have beat his ass, but they don't care. You know what I'm saying? They just care about music and like, you know, feeling good. And it's not some, like, you know, they really feel a strong passion for. You know, they just listen to it. And whatever's more digestible, whatever's easier to listen, they'll just take it. You know what I'm saying? It's whatever. They don't give a fuck about it. You know, so I mean, on one side, getting banned, I mean, you never went in there in the first place, but it just speaks to a broader issue that you might have get banned from every single hip-hop media outlet. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing that Drake essentially got from this. You know, if you're attacking the legends, if you're attacking the people that, you know, the biggest names in this space, then what does that tell to the other people? You know what I'm saying? That tells, oh, we are under the same threat. He's gonna sue us. We're gonna get legal repercussions if we go and attack him, or we go and talk against him. You know, it's like a warning shot. You know, it's like trying to scare people. You know, and I think that's absolutely anti-hip-hop, anti-culture, and the best thing he could do is just go to Bobby Altov and Adam Rose and his streamer friends, XQC, whatever. You know what I'm saying? That's the best thing he could do right now. But yeah, man, that's my 2 cents on this whole thing. You know, it's so interesting to see this guy downfall, man. I'm just commenting on what I see. Of course, I saw with Kendrick, man, of course, but you know, I just give my opinion on it. I really don't want to see. I don't pray on the downfall of nobody. Like, I really don't root for nobody like falling down. But if you're going against what the culture is going, if you're going against what hip hop is about, and you're harming it, then, you know, I would prefer to see somebody like Kendrick take the throne. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we're seeing right now. So I'll catch you guys in the next video. 1.